Hello. We're going to start in 1 minute, I guess. I don't know if anybody is already online. If everybody can hear me and can see me. Hello, Alfia. Okay. It's ringing 5 at the church. Hi, Yulia. Yulia, sorry. Hello, Rachel. Welcome to Paris. Look the blue sky behind me. Is the sounds good? Do you hear me well? And the image, it's good. Sound is good. That's perfect. Image 2, you see me? Great, fantastic. So now just tell me I can start. Perfect. So, hello everybody. My name is Patrick and I'm your tour guide today in Paris. And it's a live streaming. So we are live, okay? It's not recorded. So we're going to have a great time together visiting the historical center of Paris, which is the Earth of Paris, meaning the place where Paris has born more than 2,000 years ago. Quite a long time, no? And during this tour, I'm going to show you some of the most beautiful highlights in Paris in the center. Of course, Paris, if you have been, you know it's quite a big city. There is a lot of highlights which are at different positions of Paris. Ourselves, we're going to concentrate in the Middle Age part, meaning the place where Paris has started to the Middle Age, more or less. Okay? So I hope you are going to enjoy this time. And Rachel, if you've got question from our guest, feel free to write to me. Also, I will ask you some questions that you already have got by email, and then I will give you the reply. Listen me carefully, because maybe in my storytelling, you could have a clue, a tip, or any help to get the reply. Is that fine for you? Is that all good? Well, there's a little time between you write and I get the reply, so I guess it's all good. So I'm going to start. Expecting your reply is yes, Patrick, it's all good for us. So you may hear some noise around me, because Paris, it's a busy city. And the center of Paris, it's even more busy because the streets are a little bit more narrow. Okay? Thank you, Rachel. I anticipated you were going to say all good, so I was carrying on, okay? And of course, as there is a quiz, there is a prize. And the prize is maybe the most iconic image we have about Paris. So, what is the most iconic image of Paris? If we think Paris, if we think France, I'm sure all of you think about that little things, which is the Eiffel Tower. So, the winning team about the quiz will get this Eiffel Tower. And look at that Eiffel Tower. It has got the new color because we have just repainted it in gold for the Olympic game of 2024. So this is the brand new color of the Eiffel Tower. And look at that one. It's not just only an Eiffel Tower, which is like that, but look at it. It has got a little button underneath. And when you press it, it's blinking exactly like the sparkling show at the Eiffel Tower in the night. Isn't it fantastic? So now I hope you are motivated to win the prize. So I put back the prize in my bag, and then after the tour, I will send it to you to be able to have the trophy of this tour. So let's start walking. So what do we see in front of us? You see the river. You see this green. Well, it can be green, it can be a little bit more blue. It depends usually about the weather. Today it's quite sunny, so it's a little bit more green. It depends really how the sun rises on the river. The river in Paris is named La Seine. So in fact, Paris is divided in three parts. Right now, I am in the right bank of Paris. This is the right bank. So it means the north side of the city. And alongside the river, we have got these people which are named les bouquinistes. If you've been to Paris, you may know about them. They are selling books, old cards, old posters, all second-hand products. And of course, you can buy them for quite a cheap amount. And it's very, very Parisian to do that. Josephine Baker. Some of them are closed. They open usually every day, but people can decide to open or not. So the first part of Paris is the right bank. The right bank of Paris has been the latest part of Paris which has been built. In the early time, I mean the antiquity, there were nothing in the right bank. And in fact, there were nothing in the left bank. Everything was in the island, which is in front of us. So to pass from the right bank to the island, you have to pass by a bridge. We have got more than 30 bridges in Paris to be able to cross the River Seine. In the right bank, which has been built later on, it's also the place of Paris where we have the most of, how can I say, the healthier people which are living. We also have got the opera, we have got theaters, we have got bank, we have got insurance, we have got all the expensive company. So all this part of Paris has been renovated and been rebuilt by a man named Osman. You may have heard about him, the Osmanian style in 1860. The left bank, where we will go in a couple of minutes, is the old part because the left bank has been built during the Roman period. The first people which were living in Paris were the Gauls, les Gaulois, and they were living inside the island. Where am I going now? They were living in the island. Why that? Because if you live in an island, first the river, I mean around the island, allows you to be protected in case of attack. Then by the river you can carry any goods or any food that you need. So in fact, the river is very important in Paris because the river has always been, if I can say, a spring of protection and a spring of um, bringing the food and all the things that we needed. And if you look once the coat of arms of Paris, you will see we have got a river inside and a boat, meaning it's really important. So the island you see here was the first location of the first inhabitants of Paris, meaning 300 BC. So you see, it's more than 2,300 years ago, a very, very long time. The tribe which was living here was named Parisii. Parisii. And this tribe was living, if I can say, in peace when the Romans arrived. The Romans arrived in Paris 50, 50 years before the Christ. And when they arrive in Paris, they vanquish the little Gaul tribe and they conquered Paris. And they renamed the city of Paris because it wasn't named Paris. They named the city of Paris Lutece, Lutetia. Okay, that's the first name of the city of Paris, Lutece or Lutetia, if you said it in Latin. And they settle their capital and their administration place inside the island. And that has been like that for nearly 5 centuries. After that, we have got our first French king, a Christian king, who arrived in Paris. He was named Clovis. He pushed away the Roman and he built his first royal castle. And this royal castle is still existing nowadays in Paris. And I'm going to show it to you because you can imagine that castle is 1,500 years old. This is the castle which is exactly here. So when you look at these towers, these round defensive towers, they are the towers of the castle which was protecting Paris in the 5th century, in the 6th century, sorry, in the years 500. You see, you have got here 1, 2, 3 round towers, and you have got here a square towers, which is named the clock towers, because at the top of it there is a clock and there is a bell. And the king was living in this palace, and we always have kept it. But after that, later on, in the Middle Age, so around the years 1300, the 14th century, the king left this palace to go to another palace, which is located quite far away over there, which is named the Louvre, which is now very well known to be the famous museum of the Louvre, the most visited and the largest museum in the world. More than 10 million people come to visit it every year. And when the palace hasn't been used anymore as a royal castle, it became a court of justice and also a jail. Okay? And it's in that jail, which was named la Conciergerie, that Marie Antoinette, long time after that, in the 18th century, that Marie Antoinette, during the French Revolution, is going to be first judged and then put in jail before being condemned to death and beheaded with the famous French guillotine. Okay? So we'll come back to all this information bits by bits when we walk in the street. But first, I give you a kind of big pictures of where we are. So you see, so it's a bit windy here because I'm up to the river, and of course it's windy. So if you hear some wind in the mic, it's normal due to the location where we are. So here you have got the right banks. We see with the big buildings, expensive buildings, where the rich people are living. Here you've got the River Seine. The Eiffel Tower is far away that side. And here you've got the island of La Cité. There's 2 main islands in Paris, but we are counting all together 3 islands in Paris. If you've got question, Rachel, do not hesitate to text me and I will reply to the question of our guest. You may also think why there is so many police cars today in the streets of Paris. You see, police car, police car, police car, police car, police car. Wow, there is not. It's because of demonstration. You know, we always say France is on strike, and we always say that the national sport in France is to demonstrate. Well, it's not for that. It's because we have got nowadays we still have got the Court of Justice in the same building since the 5th century, since the Middle Age, we still have got the Court of Justice, which is in that palace. And nowadays, these days, we have got a very important trial, which is going to stay there for 6 months. You know, unfortunately, like the 9/11 in America, here in Paris, we had a terror attack in November 2015, and the terrorists killed 130 people during this attack. The terrorists, most of them have been killed, but one has been captured live. And nowadays he is judged. So of course there is a lot of police station, lot of soldiers in the street because we are thinking that we may have, another attack to deliver or to do something against the court of justice. So that's why you see all these blue and white little lorries, which are police and army. So I won't stream and I won't put in my camera the image of the policemen, okay, or the army for security reasons, but they are all over the streets, heavily weaponed. So here you have got the conciergerie. The conciergerie, as I said, was the first jail in Paris, and the jail where during the French Revolution, meaning after 1789, we start putting prisoner the people from the nobilities, and we put in that jail more than 3,000 people in 2 years, and 2,000 of them have been beheaded. And the most famous of them, of course, were the Queen of France, Marie Antoinette, and the King of France, the King Louis XVI. By the by the way, I'm walking, and I have got some question, a quiz that you have received a little bit in advance. So I'm going to ask you some of this question, okay? And then I will give you the reply. One of the question was the jail is named Conciergerie, okay? I've just said that. So why the jail was named the Conciergerie? Do you think it's because it was a jail where the prisoners were named concierge, or because the man in charge of the palace, of the royal palace, was named the concierge? So is it the prisoners who were named concierge, or was it the man who was in charge of the palace who was named concierge? Okay, I'll let you think about that and give me your answer. And then, Rachel, you will keep the data to see if it's a good reply or not. And during that time, I'm still going to speak about where we are. Next to the palace, we have got one of the most beautiful church in Paris, which is named the Sainte Chapelle. Well, it's a sunny day, and so you see you have got some sun. So I'm just trying to hide the sun. The second answer, Rachel, absolutely. That's a good reply. The man in charge of the palace was named the concierge. And that man, in fact, was having the key of the palace. You know, he was keeping the keys. And nowadays, when you go to a hotel, well, to who you ask the key at the hotel? You ask the key at the concierge. So in fact, you see, we still have got the names as it was said in the Middle Age. The concierge is still keeping the keys. So we are just in front of the sun, so you can't see it so well. I'm just going to try to hide the sun to show you a better image of the Sainte Chapelle. So here it is. Now we still have got the sun, so I have to move a little bit more on the right. Can I see it from here? Maybe. I need to be in the shed. Okay, this is. So here you see you've got the Sainte Chapelle. This building is not Notre Dame. That chapel was the private chapel for the king and the queen, and they built it in the 14th centuries. And inside that chapel, we had the holy relics of the Christ. So the king of France, who went to Jerusalem from some crusade, brought back from Jerusalem some holy relics, altogether 22. And the most important of them was the throne crown from the Christ. And at the we were building this church, we built another one, which is, of course, the famous Notre Dame. I propose that we go to see Notre Dame now. In the meanwhile, I'm going to ask you another question. What was the former name of Paris? Was it Lutèce or was it Tutatis? So if you think the former name of Paris was Lutèce, you say reply 1. If you think the former name of Paris was Tutatis, you say reply 2. So now we are walking from the Sainte Chapelle to Notre Dame. We pass in front of different administrative buildings, as for instance, here we have got the headquarters of the police in Paris, and it has been during the Second World War the place where the liberation of Paris, the freedom of Paris, where the battle took place the 25th of August 1944, when the Allied arrived after number 1, absolutely Rachel. Well done. Woohoo! Really good. You are listening me very well because you get the good reply every time. Well done. While Tutatis, in fact, it's a Gaul word. So the Gaulois were saying, like nowadays people are saying, oh my God. The Gaulois were saying, by Tutatis. So Tutatis was a Gaul god, a pagan god. So you see this building in the police station, the headquarters of the police station. And you may see when we walk some plaque on the wall with name of people who died during the Second World War because they fought for the freedom of Paris and they have been killed by the Nazi during the Battle of Paris. But happily, we push away the German and we won the battle with the help of all the allies. Many Canadians also came to France and they went for the D-Days, the 6th of June in Juno Beach, which is one of the seaside where we have got the D-Days. So you see, for instance, here, you can see there is a little plaque on the wall. So you see here, it's written, here has fallen for the freedom Montauron Jean, that's the name of the person who was a policeman. He died the 24th of August 1944 during the Battle of Paris. Paris has been free the 25th of August. And we have got all over this place this kind of information. In front of us, the big building we see is a hospital named Hôtel Dieu. If I translate Hôtel Dieu in English, I would say God Hotel. Why God Hotel? It's because this building, the first building, this one has been renovated. The first building is dating from 651. And at that time, that hospital was ruled by nuns and monks. And so, as it was also a religious hospital, they named it the God Hostel, Hôtel Dieu. And that hospital is still working since 651. Well, don't worry, the doctor has changed and they have got new technique of saving the people that they were using in the Middle Age. We are going to arrive in a couple of seconds in front of Notre Dame. Notre Dame, the church, it's a church which became a cathedral, has been built for 200 years. And they started in the 12th century, in 1165 to be precise, and they finished it in the 14th centuries in 1350 to be precise. So nearly 200 years to build this magnificent cathedral. We are just arriving in front of it. Of course, you have to know that unfortunately we had a fire in this cathedral in 2019, precisely the 15th of April. And the cathedral was under fire. I'm sure you have seen that on your TV programs. And we were so worrying to lose one of our most important and the most visited church in France, and I guess in Europe too. You know, there is more than 12 million people which are every year coming to visit the cathedral. 12 million people. It's a huge numbers. And I think Canadians, there is 25 million. So you see, it's half of the Canadian population. And so the fire was not an arson. It was just a mistake, if I can say. We had some renovation and they had an electric troubles and electric hazard. And due to that, the fire started. And when the fire started, it went immediately in the ceiling, in the roof of the cathedral. And the roof of the cathedral was in wood, covered by lead. So immediately, the roof becomes a huge fire. And in a couple of minutes, we knew we had no chance to save the cathedral, I mean, the roof of the cathedral and the spire. So when the firemen arrived, they decided not to try to save the roof because it was useless, but they decided to save the towers, the front facade. So due to that, they water it a lot, and they avoid the fires to go from the back side to the front side. So after the night, we knew that the fireman vanquished the fire, and we knew that Notre Dame was going to be still here. But of course, the fire destroyed and damaged a large part of the cathedral, and also the fact of watering the cathedral damaged the stone, because the stone are limestone and they don't like two things. They don't like humidity and they don't like heat. You can imagine a fire plus the water of the fireman, that the worst thing who can happen. So we know we have got for 5 years of renovation. The cathedral is going to reopen in 2024. So why 2024? You know, I told you before, we have got the Olympic game in 2024. So that will be the time when the cathedral is going to reopen. So why it's a cathedral, by the way? It's because, you know, we need, if we want to have a representative of the Pope in a city, not only to have a church or a basilica or a chapel or a monastery or whatever, but we need to have a cathedral. And the cathedral has to be a very, very tall church, you know? So like that, when you are a pilgrims, when you go to the cathedral, when you look, when you rise your eyes to the top of the cathedral, you think, you see, that the top of the cathedral is touching the sky. So it means you are in direct contact with God. So of course, in the Middle Age, it was reinforcing the fact that the pilgrims which were coming in Paris were feeling being close from God. So this cathedral is an absolutely gorgeous monument, which is a Gothic style. The Gothic style is after the Romanesque style, and the Gothic style, by the technique of the Gothic style, allows us to build the building much higher. I'm going to cross the river in a couple of minutes to go to the left bank, and I will show you a church from the Romanesque time. So like that, you will see the difference between the Gothic and the Romanesque style. If you've got some question about Notre Dame, ask me. But you see the rose window, for instance, we have got 3 famous rose window. It has been completely preserved, so no damage. I mean, it has been damaged, but no definitive damage. So it means we can renovate it, and it hasn't broken. So happily, we kept all the holy relics. Happily, we kept all the structure of the cathedral, and happily, there was no human casualty during this fire. The cathedral has been evacuated peacefully, and nobody has been wounded or, of course, killed during this fire. By the way, I had a question for you. And the question is, when Notre Dame has been built, is Notre Dame option 1 has been built from the 10th to the 12th centuries, or is Notre Dame has been built from the 12th to the 14th? So option 1, 10th to 12th. Option 2, 12th to 14th. I'll let you think, Rachel, and I'm asking you the reply of our guest online. The cathedral is absolutely marvelous. You know, even if I'm a Parisian, even if I see the cathedral nearly every day when I walk in Paris, I'm still astonished by the beauty and the, how can I say, the power of this building. And when you enter the cathedral, when you can, of course, you feel so small comparing to the cathedral itself. We're going to see again the cathedral in a couple of minutes when we're going to cross the bridge to go to the other side of the river. So we walk back, we pass again in front of the head. We think A. So you mean 10s to 12s? That's it. The first reply, 10 to 12. If it is that, mm, mm, that the sounds when I think it's wrong. No, 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 no. Cathedral has been built from the 12th to the 14th century, 1165 to 1350. Sorry for that. So we are now in the island of La Cité. So in the center of Paris, we have got 2 islands, the island of La Cité and the island of Saint Louis. Our residents were wondering if you were knew anything about the donation Victor has after making the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay, I'm going to reply to that. I was just saying something about the island, saying that we are now in the island of La Cité, and that we are going to. There is another island called Ile Saint Louis. That the 2 island in the center, and we have got a third island, which is named the Swan Island, which is the complete opposite part of Paris, which is in the west of Paris. So about the Hunchback of Notre Dame and Victor Hugo. In fact, Victor Hugo didn't make a donation, properly speaking, but he gave more than a donation. He wrote the book, The Hunchback. And at that time, at the time of Victor Hugo, the cathedral had an arson in 1830. After this arson, the cathedral was very, very damaged. And the people in Paris were thinking the cathedral is too damaged, we should destroy it and rebuild a new cathedral. And nobody was really caring about that cathedral. And suddenly, Victor Hugo published The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And that has been the first mass success book in France and also in some other country in Europe. And everybody, with that book, with the story of the Hunchback, start rediscovering the beauty and the story and the history of Notre Dame. So everybody thought we can't leave the cathedral like that. So Victor Hugo proposed after that to make kind of global donation, ask the government and private donors to give money to be able to start the renovation of Notre Dame. And that's what has been done after 1830 by an architect named Eugène Viollet-le-Duc, who has been renovating the cathedral of Notre Dame. And from that time to nowadays, the cathedral was like that. So here you see, now I'm on another bridge. So it means I'm leaving the island. I'm crossing a bridge to go from the island to the left bank, which is at my right side. And you see by the river, you've got this absolutely beautiful view of the river, which is here, and the cathedral, which is here. I love that view. And we are very lucky today because we have got a blue sky. And you know, a couple of hours before, it was heavily raining. So I was worried that for the tour, we're going to have a heavy rain. And finally, you know, God has been kind with us. He brought us a blue sky for the tour. When we cross the right bank, then the island. And when we leave the island, you see, I'm walking on the bridge. When we leave the island, we are going to pass in the left bank. The left bank has got another famous name. It's also named the Latin Quarter. I'm going to explain you why it has been named the Latin Quarter. But first, I want to show you again a vision of Notre Dame because I think this is absolutely beautiful. I hope you like Notre Dame as I do like it myself. And I hope you like this view, which looks so nice with this fantastic sky and this weather. It's around 50 Fahrenheit, 55 Fahrenheit today in Paris. So not too cold. I mean, for nearly October, it's quite a good weather. So now we leave Notre Dame and we go to the left bank, the Latin Quarter. The left bank, in fact, was the place of the knowledge, was the place of the university, of the first school. Paris, from the century 1000, start opening a first university. It's the only capital, you know, in Western Europe that has got a famous university. Well, you think about America, Harvard, or in England, Cambridge, Oxford, these fantastic universities are not in the capital. They are cities outside of the capital. Paris is the only capital who has got a very famous university, which is named La Sorbonne. And La Sorbonne has been created in the year 1000, and the building has been built in the year 1200. And you see here the old house from the Middle Age. You see the difference of architecture. This is the old houses from the Middle Age in Paris. So when you enter the Latin Quarter, when you enter the left bank, you pass from big streets, modern streets, which are in the right bank, to old streets with cobblestone in the street, which are from the Middle Age. And the student in the year 1000 didn't have a buildings to study. As I said, the Sorbonne has been built in 1200. So from 1000 to 1200, the students were studying in the street like that. They were standing in the street. The teachers was with them, for instance, like that, could be like that in a park, or the teacher could be at the first floor of a house and the students were down. And so the students were all around there and they were listening the teachers. But which language the teachers was using? Aha, that's a good question. In fact, the teachers was speaking in Latin because at that time, the language of the nobility, of the church, of the people of power, of the people of knowledge, of science, was Latin. So when you were walking in this part of Paris from 1000 to 1200, you were meeting students and you were hearing people speaking in Latin. As nowadays, you can hear people speaking in English, meaning that the French people which were living there named this place the Latin Quarter because the people were speaking Latin. So now we pass in front of a bookshop, a very famous bookshop. Maybe you heard about it, which is named Shakespeare and Company. Shakespeare and Company, like Shakespeare, the English writer. It's a very old bookshop which has been created originally in 1920 at the time of the Lost Generation. Hemingway, James Joyce, Scott Fitzgerald, and all these famous writers, and Sylvia Beach, Gertrude Stein, and that place has been through the age getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. And nowadays, it's the largest English bookshop in Paris. They are only selling books. And you see, they also have got a little cafe nowadays where you see the people at the terrace. That's so Parisian, no? Where you can have a little drink or a little cake or whatever you want. So, by the way, I have got another question for you, just to see if you listen me well. In Paris, do we have reply one, three islands, or do we have reply two, two islands? So, three islands or two islands? Just think about that question and reply to me during the time I'm walking in this Latin Quarter. And you see the house, look at the house, look at the streets, cobblestones, very old houses. These houses are dating from the Middle Age. You see, they are not at all luxurious houses. So we are right in the middle of the Latin Quarter. Three, Rachel, good reply. You listen me very well. Ile de la Cité, Ile Saint-Louis, and the third one is named the Swan Island. And the Swan Island, at the end of it, we have got a Lady Liberty, exactly the one which is in New York, built also by Bartholdi. And Bartholdi decided to give one to America to seal the friendship between France and America, and kept one in Paris to be able to have, how can I say, to have a kind of twins between America and Paris. Here you see, this is a Romanesque church. You see that church, which is very small. That church is dating from the 800s. So that church is before Notre Dame. And you see the difference. It's much more smaller. There is no big rose windows, you see, small windows. And that church has been damaged and destroyed. It has been rebuilt, but it has been damaged and destroyed by the Viking. You know the Viking, the Norman, the man from Norway and Sweden. And they came here, they attacked Paris. They never could enter inside the city, which was protected by the city wall on the river, but they destroyed a lot of things on the left bank, which wasn't protected by a city wall at that time. And you see, you have got here the Romanesque church. And you see, if now I turn my gimbal a little bit, you can see over there Notre Dame. You see the size of it. This is the Gothic, and here you have got the Romanesque. So also after the war, in this the war, the Second World War, in this Latin Quarter, we start having many jazz clubs because the GIs, the American GIs which were there, lots of them were from African origin and they were jazz player. And so they start playing this music in Paris, and this music has been adopted. Look at that. If you like some pastries, I recommend you, if you come to Paris, to come to this place, which is named Odette, and they are selling the best choux pastries in Paris. They are absolutely fantastic. It's called choux à la crème, choux pastries. They are filled with the filling inside has got a flavor, and the topping of the pastries is the topping of the flavor inside. So you see, for instance, you've got passion fruit, coffee, strawberries, pistachio, chestnut, lemon, chocolate. Wow, many perfume, and that's absolutely delightful. And you see, when we walk in the Latin Quarter, as I said, we have got many narrow streets. You can see all these small narrow streets where we haven't touched since the Middle Age. So when you walk here, you really feel that you are like in the Middle Age. By the way, I told you something before, and that will be my last question, my question number 5. The word Latin Quarter, it was named like that because the Romans were living in the Latin Quarter, or it was named like that because the students were studying and so speaking in Latin. What is the good reply for you? Reply 1, because the Romans were living in, so we call it the Latin Quarter, or reply B, because the students were learning and being teach in Latin, being taught in Latin, sorry, so meaning the Latin Quarter. What do you think? Reply 1, the Roman, or reply 2, the students? And we're going to finish our tour in a couple of minutes in front of one big boulevard called Boulevard Saint-Germain, where we are going to have all our university in Paris. Because if the first one opened here in 1200, nowadays we have got 13 university in Paris. And some of them are very famous. Some of them are for humanities. So reply number 2, really good, Rachel. Absolutely perfect. So you've got 4 good reply out of 5 questions. That's a very good score. I congratulate all of you. I'm happy to have got such a good guest today. So as I said, the Latin, the university started in 1200. Mainly it was humanities, and nowadays we've got 13 universities. Some are more for economics, some are more for medicine, some are still for humanities, some are more for theologia. Many universities which are specialized in one subject. So, my friend, if you've got some question, please ask me and I will reply to them because we are going to finish the tour in a couple of minutes. And of course, if you enjoy the tour, thank you first very much to have been listening me. I hope the quality of the image and the quality of the sun is good. Walking in the streets of Paris is very nice, but it's also very noisy. So I hope that you could hear me very well. And of course, if you enjoy the tour, well, do not hesitate to leave a tip to your guides. It's always welcomed. Any small donation is always welcome. And if you enjoy the tour, speak about you and say that you enjoy that. And maybe we will be able to come back in Paris for another tour for another subject. Rachel, it has been a pleasure to have been with you. And I send a huge hug and a lot of kisses to all. How many are you together, Rachel? How many have you got with you? How many guests have we got? Because I see you, I see you, I read you, but I can't see how many people are with you. So you see that the part of the university, all that are going to be the University of Paris. And you see, we arrived to the underground station, and the underground station is named by this university, as I said, La Sorbonne. You are going to see it's written on the underground station here, Cluny, La Sorbonne. Maybe it's blurry to the sun. I'm going to be in the shed in couples of seconds, so you're going to see better. You see, La Sorbonne. And here you've got a map of Paris. So you see, we have been touring in the island from the right bank, passing by the island, going to the left bank. Sorry, I couldn't read Rachel. There was the light was on my camera and I couldn't read your message. Sorry for that. Have you got any question? Can I tell you something? Did you enjoy? No. Okay. Perfect. So thank you so much. Good. Perfect. That's make me very happy. And so I give you a kiss, many kisses to all of you, like we do in France. You know, we are used to give la bise like that. That's what we do when we meet somebody that we like. doesn't mean to kiss your wife, or you know, you can kiss everybody, and it's very French to do that. Sometimes some peoples, when they arrive in France, they are so surprised to see the people kissing each other. This is very cultural. Kisses to all of you too. Thank you so much for having with me. Have a great time. Enjoy yourself, and hope to see you soon another time. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.